Good morning from London. It's another grey, dull day here in London. And hello to all dear comrades, friends, and supporters from me, Dr. Dermot Hudson, the chairman of the British Group for the Study of the Juche, chairman of the Korean Friendship Association of the UK, and the official delegate of KFA for the UK, and of course the owner of this very self-same channel, Songam 007, the militant voice of Songam and Juche in the UK, defending people's career with no ifs or buts, and we're probably the only serious pro-Juche, pro-DPRK channel in the UK, except no substitutes and imitations. And today I thought I would speak about a subject that sort of came up on one of the live streams, in fact, the last live stream. And by the way, I'll probably have another live stream this coming Friday or possibly the week after. But the subject came up about a remark made by Zoe Discovers, or Zoe the tour guide who runs the Zoe Discovers YouTube channel, about the growing middle class, quote unquote, in people's career. And I think this remark cannot go unchallenged. And I'd already dealt with it on the live stream and also put a comment on the channel. But I aim to explore the subject in depth in this video and provide a refutation. And of course, the very term middle class is itself a bit problematic. It's not actually, strictly speaking, a scientific term. Because middle class can be a term of abuse, simply describing overprivileged people, people more privileged than ourselves, so I think once someone said about, people who try to dominate parent-teacher association meetings, or people pushing their way onto trains past children and old people. But the term middle class is often used very, very, very loosely. Sometimes it simply means non-manual workers, workers in offices and IT, and people like teachers. And in fact, it often really encompasses several different classes and strata. For example, the petty bourgeoisie or smaller capitalists, non-monopoly capitalists who own small businesses or farms and so on. And also the middle strata or intermediate strata, which of course is a more scientific and accurate term. And this actually means people like doctors, lawyers, teachers, and so on, media people, and journalists. And of course, it is a fact that objectively, I think a lot of media figures are really members of the capitalist class. Their interests are very tied in with defending the capitalist system, and they often are paid very high salaries and have stocks and shares. Anyway, let's get back to the subject of people's career and whether there is a growing middle class, quote unquote. Now, I've never actually met Zoe I believe it's from Choreo Tours. But, often seen her channel quoted quite a lot, and I've watched one or two videos on it. And it is basically about promoting tourism and to the DPRK. It's not ideological. That's, I think, something to note. And of course, these different tour companies that exist, but these exist to make money. They're not there to defend the DPRK's socialist system or promote it. This is a very important point to bear in mind. I note that Zoe apparently lives in Taiwan, which is dodgy. Taiwan, like South Korea, is another fascist puppet regime. There's only one China. But we have to bear in mind there's all kinds of anti-DPRK propaganda, and anti-DPRK propaganda exists on an industrial scale. It is 24/7, virtually every hour, even every minute of the day. And of course, there is a lot of hysterical and tabloid-esque propaganda against the DPRK. That is unfortunately lapped up by sections of the population, by people like Wrexham Borough Council and one or two deranged residents of Wrexham. But there's also more sophisticated anti-DPRK propaganda. There is soft and subtle anti-DPRK propaganda, which undermines the reputation of the DPRK as a socialist state. And of course, in the 1960s, the former US Trotskyite Burnham, I believe James Burnham, actually went and worked for the CIA, and he produced the so-called convergence theory, which argued that the socialist system and capitalist system were becoming similar, that the existing socialist countries were becoming similar to capitalist countries, and there would be no difference between the two very soon. And of course, I think it is a fact that because you had revisionist leadership in some of the socialist camp, some socialist countries did become degraded, but that never happened in the DPRK, which had an anti-revisionist leadership. But anyway, this kind of propaganda is now applied to the DPRK by people like the NK News gang. And of course, NK News is a CIA front organisation set up to promote disinformation about people's career, promote anti-DPRK propaganda, and we suspect was actually set up back in 2010 to counter the influence of organisations like the Korean Friendship Association, which campaign in favour of true solidarity with people's career, with no ifs or buts. So, answering the allegation that there is a growing middle class in people's career? Well, I say, first of all, the term is not scientific and not accurate. It can mean all sorts of different things. In fact, in people's career, you do still have two classes in existence. These are non-antagonistic. You have the working class, and you also have working farmers. Now, the reason why there's a differentiation is because workers work in state-owned industry, which is owned by the whole of society, whereas farmers work in cooperatives, which are owned by groups in society. However, that distinction will be abolished in future, as in the DPRK, all cooperative farms will be gradually converted to all people property, to state farms. And when I was in the DPRK last April, I visited the Kangdong greenhouse farm, which is a state farm, not a cooperative farm. And farms like these are being built all over the DPRK. I'm sure those of you who follow DPRK news would have seen the news about the big greenhouse farm at Sinedu, which is going to be gigantic. But anyway, and in people's career, there are no antagonistic classes. There's no exploiter class, because you have the socialist ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange in the DPRK. It's a 100% socialist country. There is no private industry or private businesses in the DPRK. When we've discussed this with the Korean Association of Social Scientists several times, they have affirmed this. There's no private business in the DPRK. And in fact, people's career is the most egalitarian society in the world. Certainly the most egalitarian country that I've seen. And I would also recommend people read my little essay, Pyongyang City of Workers, which I'll make a little reference, speak a little bit about in a minute. So I remember in 2008 having lunch in Sarawon with my guides Han and Choi or Cho, and as they explained to me, they said, as you can see in the DPRK countryside, there's no big house, and that's true. There are no big houses. Most of the houses were roughly of the same size. There are individual plots for farmers. These are very, very tiny, basically the size of a small back garden in the UK. As I say, there's no big private landed estates or private farms. I've many times seen a high level of social equality in the DPRK. For instance, I've seen waitresses and drivers playing snooker with high-level academics in the DPRK, with professors and researchers. I mean, you wouldn't really see that in the UK. And indeed, barriers between workers and intellectuals in the DPRK are being removed all the time. When I visited the Kim Jong-suk textile mill in 2019, I saw a Sci-Tech learning space where workers could actually uh, participate in online courses with top level universities like Kim Il Sung University. So you don't have the sort of barrier that you have in capitalist countries like the UK. It's not like that at all. It is very different. Uh, and also, when we visited the U1 footwear factory, we were told that the actual wage differential in income differential was 2 to 1. I mean, this is the lowest ever. It was about, I believe, 30 to 1 in the former USSR and 10 to 1 in Cuba. And of course, in capitalist countries, well, it is in fact very hard to calculate or estimate the income differentials. You've got a billionaire like Elon Musk or Bill Gates, and then you've got very low paid workers working 12 hours a day in care work, or you've actually got long-term unemployed people, homeless people. These differences are massive, and people's career does not have that. It is egalitarian. It is socialist, and also in people's career, it is uh, enshrined in law and in party rules that all officials, cadres, must do 1 day of manual labour per week on Fridays. So, when you look at all this, the idea of a growing middle class becomes quite ridiculous. Of course, to be fair and perhaps to be charitable, Zoe may have been referring to the fact that actually in the DPRK, living standards are going up. They've gone up a lot. And I think within the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of construction of housing, of different cultural and recreational facilities, an expansion of light industry. There's more stuff around for people to buy. There's more clothing, better clothing. But this doesn't make people middle class or capitalist. In fact, this idea is based on a misunderstanding of what socialism really means. Socialism is not about making everybody poor. It is an intrinsic and fundamental aspect of socialism to actually improve living standards and to raise living standards. And this is actually in the DPRK constitution and in the rules of the Workers' Party of Korea. And I mean, it's also true that in recent years in the DPRK, there's been a big expansion of the IT industry, and it is becoming a more knowledge-based economy. But again, this doesn't make people quote unquote middle class in the DPRK. I mean, this is again, it's part of the development of socialism, and we should also note that the DPRK is advancing towards communism, the higher stage of socialism, which will see the total abolition of classes. And respected Marshal Kim Jong-un has several times mentioned communism in his speeches. And it is also a fact that DPRK, unlike the UK, has steel and coal industries, alongside uh, I, modern IT industries. DPRK has steel works. The steel industry is thriving. This is different to the UK, where we've seen the steel and coal industries uh, absolutely butchered. In fact, one could also remark that in the UK, what we've seen since the Thatcher era is a big expansion of the lumpen proletariat, which again is something that doesn't exist in the DPRK. Now, I remember on one of my visits to the DPRK with an old friend of mine beside me, he said, "Oh, there's no lumpens in the DPRK." That's true, and I think it's quite uh, possible that Zoe misunderstood some developments in the DPRK, or to be less charitable, was simply repeating claptrap out of NK News. And I always find it funny that this idea pushed by the likes of NK News and Lankov and all these kind of people, that all these an elite in uh, the DPRK. The irony of it is the people making this accusation are in fact from immensely privileged backgrounds in capitalist countries. But uh, they're actually projecting uh, the the reality of capitalism on to the DPRK. And one thing which I'll just mention before I start to conclude the video is now it's often said that Pyongyang is the city of the elite. Well, that's a load of rubbish, as I put in my article, Pyongyang, City of Workers. Many people in Pyongyang work in industries, these textile mills, footwear factories, bag factories, power stations, also railways, buses, metro, trolley buses. It's actually a city of workers. It's actually a proletarian city. I mean, this is more false propaganda. And I think we've always got to be uh, aware of the more subtle anti-DPRK propaganda, as well as attempts to try and induce the DPRK into reform and opening up and giving up its socialist system. In my book, The Great Conspiracy Against People's Career, I've uh, have a few paragraphs on the so-called DPRK engagers who want to try and make the DPRK adopt the capitalist system, in which I think there are certain people trying to do this. Anyway, to conclude, as I've got a busy day ahead, there isn't a growing middle class in the DPRK. It is one of the most egalitarian societies in the world. It is a socialist country, so let's defend it with no ifs or buts. And I thank you for listening to this video today. If you're not already a subscriber to the channel, Sungam007, please hit the subscribe button. Please share content from this as much as possible. YouTube are not recommending the videos. They seem to be trying to suppress the channel. So, do a bit of sharing, please. In terms of events, always support our events. Check out our social media for details of them. And you can support us by buying our publications, defending people's career and explaining the Juche idea, and also by donating to KFA UK and myself. Anyway, I wish everybody a wonderful day, great being with you, and hope to see you all again soon, maybe on the next live stream. Goodbye.